Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Canyon. Welcome back to an installation that is just purely because it's the kind of thing we do around here. It's not series related. This is an exercise in due diligence because right here we have this gentleman right here. His panels are freshly painted. This is an absolute collection of bits, bobs, cast-offs, parts and pieces. This is the rig that is being given away because this channel, the channel that you're watching right now, has hit 10,000 subscribers. And when we hit 10,000, we said we're going to give something away. We're going to give it away. I left it too far away. We're giving away an RTR, everything but a battery. You're getting this right here. I'm gonna box it up in a box. I'm gonna send it off somewhere. And here is where time gets both timey-wimey and wibbly-wobbly. As I'm recording this, I don't have 10,000 subscribers yet. As you're watching this, this has already been given away. This already belongs to somebody, but I don't know who it belongs to. Isn't YouTube crazy? Time doesn't exist in YouTube. Time is a construct anyway. But, like, we're all at its mercy. We're all at the mercy of a construct. This is a clone G1 from G-Made chassis. You can find them on the internet for relatively inexpensively. It was painted with, to me, a metallic purple because I was leaning into both the little hollow oil slick of the deep wheels and we've got the orange of the shock. It is four-wheel steer on MST axles. It has no underdrive nor overdrive. And you know what? It's kind of the only four-wheel steer vehicle that I'm any good at driving. Inside is a clone Nod 2 gearbox. We could have opted for a gearbox that has underdrive or overdrive in it, but what we had to opt for was a gearbox with the most available gear reduction of anything, because in their divine wisdom, the gentleman over at MST designed a portal axle that not only does not have portal reduction, but due to the existence of a 15-tooth pinion and a 36-tooth ring gear, has about 30% less overall gear reduction than just a straight axle. If we put two element axles on here, we'd have to pinion up. We'd have to go, we could put a regular, more conventional gearbox in there. But we didn't, and we sit where we sit. Revvit RC AM32 controller in there. There's an 8-amp UBEC in there to run these two Smraza 45 kgs, which, you know what? The market out there, the servo market, yes, there are $200+ servos out there. These guys right here are about $40 a pair. So you're paying $20 each. You know what? They're not the best servo in the world. You know what they are, though? Tremendously good for a servo that costs $20. They're not noisy. They're not overly slow. They have a little bit of a every once in a while. Other than that, absolutely functional. Has been upgraded to matching Injora drive shafts. The links are a selection of whatever. They've been converted to BTA on both axles with I think they're both factory teams. No, regular element shafts. There's a lot of cobbling, cobra-fabbling, and nonsense to put this together. What I didn't mention is what I think it's a Glowback. Yes, we've got a Glowback 3542 1450 kV because, again, there's no gear reduction in the axles. We're running 14.7 to 1 at the outputs of the transmission, and that's still not enough. Generally, in a lot of applications, once you pass about 10 to 1 out of the gearbox, even on a straight axle, you're looking for about 10 to 1. On a portal, your gear reduction would be like 90 to 1, but not if MST axles are involved. So we cannot, in good conscience, send this off to its potentially forever home without a couple scratches and nicks and scrapes on it. It has been ghost ridden once, twice. I think we've driven it twice. Vintage Proline M2 hammers with big old hair buns in them because the hammer is about, what are we looking at? About 55 millimeters wide and yet under 5 inches tall. So basically about the height, it might actually be a little shorter. Yeah, it's basically the height of a typical Class 2 tire, but in a 2.2. So finding an insert for it, M2 hammers, For some reason, all of these things whipped together. It's like one of those recipes that you see it and you go, well, that's not going to work. And then you put all the things together and you go, that's surprisingly tasty. And this guy is surprisingly tasty. He's probably, by the time you're watching this, already in a box, potentially bound for its forever home. Isn't that crazy? So this is something that we exhibit. You can build this. That's the beauty. On the one hand, I love to build things that other people can't have. I will cut custom chassis and build gearboxes from scratch and do all of those things, and they will exist as a one of one. We have a number of vehicles here that you could try to approximate, but I have manufactured parts for them just from the nebulous smoke that exists inside my own head. So this is off the shelf. If you're going to do this, just buy Mia's portals for it. They sell them in a 2-pack for 4-wheel steer. That would have been my preference from the beginning. But this thing was getting MST axles on it come hell or high water, and both came. We had to change half of the componentry out in order to get it to be functional. It's sitting at around a 40-to-1 final. I think it's 41-to-1 final on a 1400, which is definitely controllable. It's very smooth. Well, you know what? I don't need to tell you. I can just show you. We can go out on the rocks. We can go and we can hit a little bit of stuff. Maybe we'll just hit some little pieces of the gated section. We'll go to Green Line. We'll head over to Dawn. I don't know. I haven't decided. We haven't been out there. All I know is that it's full-blown predator weather inside this building right now. It is 44 degrees and 55% relative humidity inside the building. I can all but guarantee it's warmer outside. So I need to grab a battery of these. We'll throw one of those in there. We'll get this thing fired up. We'll take it out on the rocks, and it will get its farewell run before it heads off to, as of now, points unknown. This little guy, which I hadn't even come up with a name for yet. I don't know. Seems wrong not to name him. Maybe he'll have a name before he leaves. Maybe we'll name him in the live stream when we give him away. The live stream that hasn't happened yet. The live stream that happened the day before you're watching this. Oi! Try not to think about it too much. Instead, come with me, if you will, out to the rocks as we drive this gentleman right here. He's got 2 power switches, and we're gonna and 2 servos, and we're gonna have a little semi-wistful goodbye. It's a fun thing you can do. It takes almost no time at all. You can forget what radio was bound to this. I'm pretty sure it's not this one. Because I had to reset all the endpoints. Luckily, I hadn't done ID seed because there is a receiver box at play here, and I would have had to take the whole thing apart just to get this thing turned on. So something of a disaster narrowly averted. I wish I could remember what radio it was paired to. I was convinced it was this one. And I know it wasn't. I know now with certainty it wasn't this one, because I had a little bit of curve in the throttle dialed in to calm down these axles, and now this thing feels like an absolute leapfrog, but still somehow manageable. So let's see if we can't I dialed a little bit of curve into it. It feels a good bit better. Got that horn all the way in there. I'm still in the mode of Crawlercanyon thinking that I'm acting like reverse is a penalty. Come on, come on. Got a little walkie on me, but I also really missed my entry line there. Yeah, the low speed is really good. I just have to get I got to get the trigger finger used to what we're doing here. Are we out of frame yet? Not yet. All right, let's see if we can get 4 and 5 in one go. Also, rear steer channel should be reversed for me. That's a very individual thing. That is very much in the vein of, do you operate your video games with inverted? I looked down at my own hands because I got confused. There we go. I feel like I was better at four-wheel steer before because I had that rear inverted, but I already set endpoints on it, and they are not symmetrical. So if I reverse it, I'm going to have to completely reset the endpoints again. I went ahead and did it anyway. It's not that hard. Okay, drop down a little lower than I wanted to, but four-wheel steer might keep us up. If I drop that, we go a little crab action. I still need a little more crab in it there. Now if we can catch, we can maybe get past without poking it. Nice. And cut that four-wheel steer out. Oh! we definitely celebrated too early there. Should be able to manage this. Oh, yeah. It's feeling slightly more intuitive now. I have to have steering for the rear axle reversed. Well, that's not true. I didn't really pay attention when putting I think do we have both drag links going to the same side, or do we have them opposite? So depending on how you have the servo flipped, yeah, okay. This is how we four-wheel steer. I need pushing up to turn that direction focus, and down is that way. Up is that way, and down is that way. I don't know if that's forward. I don't know if that's reverse. I don't know what that is. It is forward, because this and this do the same thing. So I need to have both wheels rotating the same direction. I can't have a counter wheel. Now this should be pretty much four-wheel steer stuff right here, yeah. Unless we get a little too bound, but then we remember we have four-wheel steer. We go right through, yeah. Getting through gates with four-wheel steer is easy if you can figure out what you're doing. So somewhere in the shop is a radio that will perhaps forever have the settings for this vehicle in it, because it's going with this radio. This is the radio. I'm sorry, it's gone with this radio after I delete all of the other models that are programmed into it. Deadpool is on here. The third 10 Pro number 3 is on here. Oh, hey guy. This is on here. There was another model programmed in here. It might have been Chungus. It might have been the base camp, the F100 base camp, before we added a winch and needed more channels. Yeah, this is pretty good. And here's the deal. As I said, speaking from the past about the future that is this video's past, what would be great for me is if the ultimate recipient of this is someone who has always been interested in four-wheel steer, but never sampled it. Because this thing, it's kind of the best four-wheel experience I've gotten to, because this is like a four-wheel steer trainer. It's got like a nice long wheelbase. The tires are not overly tall. We do get portal clearance, but we're not relying on a huge amount of gear reduction. So you've got to be real judicious with application of throttle, and I think everything about it kind of helps. Like right in here, I get to right here and I'm like, what do I do? What direction do I want that rear axle pointing at that moment? Other four-wheel steer rigs, here's what I find. Obviously, it will differ from axle to axle. But I find that you'll get into a lot of situations and you just don't use four-wheel steer. Here is the problems of, say, a four-wheel steer Capra. The wheelbase is too short on a Capra. The steering angle on a Capra axle is kind of too good. So you can manipulate your way through a lot of situations without having to employ four-wheel steer. The wheelbase on this is long. It doesn't have the amount of clearance that a Capra axle has. It doesn't have the steer angle. So four-wheel steer becomes almost invaluable. And because the wheelbase is so long, like right there, we were getting a tipsy. We were heading towards yellow side, which we are again. And it gives you the opportunity. It's super forgiving. It gives you the opportunity. What happens if I turn my rear axle this way? Rear front wheel starts to rise, but not like in this horrifically unpredictable boom snap you're on your back. It's really nice. We'll get right here, and as I put more steer in it, it's gonna jack that front side up right there. That's not torque steer. That's the fact that we're getting a lot more grip out of the rear than we are out of the front. So we kind of maneuver around it. We use a little bug hop there. This is not an easy gait. I'm basically using four-wheel steer all the time. And I think, based on what little I know, I feel like this was the problem I was having before. I think for four-wheel steer, we're just, I want to get over, so we're going to ignore the white side, and we're just going to go right over the top of it. You kind of need a vehicle that, for lack of a less angry term, kind of sucks in its two-wheel steer form. This really, for me, Blue Sky High is the oldest four-wheel steer rig here. I can do a full run of something, like we're going to hop over Deadline. I can do a full run of Deadline and use four-wheel steer like 2 times. I get this sneaking suspicion that this gentleman right here is going to require four-wheel steer input like all the way across. And that is 100% not a bug. That is absolutely a feature. Right here, rear pumpkin's stuck up. So we're gonna go like this. Nope. We're gonna go like this. Yep. Next time we get stuck up, will my brain remember? Rear wheels to the left? Maybe. Probably not, but maybe. This is how you learn. Learning is just repetition. Until that pattern is so known to you that you don't have to think about it anymore. One of the things that human beings like to do is they like to put the same processes that they would put human beings through onto animals. Kind of like, we want them to be more like us, I think is a big part of it. So from a flatworm to a great ape, human beings have performed tests in an attempt to find out, how much are they like us or how much are we not like them. Bees like the orange shocks. And what we've learned is corvids, crows and ravens, very smart, very smart. And they can pick up relatively complex tasks, meaning more than one step to that task, pretty quickly. Like they only need to fail once or twice, and then they've kind of figured out why they're failing. Red squirrels are the same way. Dolphins are smarter still, but generally require more iterations. They have to try things more ways to get it. Dang it. And the orangutan, or orangutan, I guess, as you could choose to produce it, smarter still, but will require the most iterations to get it. When it comes to four-wheel steer, do you see where this is going? When it comes to four-wheel steer, I am fully orangutan. I have not gotten it yet. There's a part of it that is counterintuitive enough that I genuinely sometimes feel like I don't know what I'm doing. But what we do is, it's a skill set. And even if we're using it infrequently, it's a skill set that I want to have. I had a Capra, one of the first vehicles that I got here, in the first 5. And it was the first vehicle I had equipped with Dig. I didn't use Dig at all for probably the first 6 months that I had that vehicle. I didn't know where to use it or when to use it. I've never had Dig on anything before. The ability to lock the rear axle seemed foreign to me. Why would I want to do that? I don't know what that's for. Once I started dabbling with Dig, now on radios like this, Dig is usually set right here. If I'm piloting a vehicle without it and I get into a situation that needs it, my finger will instinctively go, even if it's not there. Now I'm so attuned to Dig, many times when you're watching a run like this, you won't notice when I'm using it. Unless you hear the ka-clunk or watch those rear wheels stop moving, I never think, oh, I need to dig now. I just do it. So the orangutan definitely captured the need for Dig and the method of application. Four-wheel steer, though, not as much. It is more impactful when used properly, and way more impactful when used improperly, because there is a very short list of outcomes of Dig. It either positions the front end where you want it to be, or it doesn't. That's that's pretty much it. Or you can use it while descending, and that will keep you from going ass over tea kettle. It'll keep you level. And if it doesn't, then the thing that was going to happen before happens anyway. I'm very comfortable with this. I've become very comfortable with Dig over time. Four-wheel steer, on the other hand, like I'm making this entry right here, and the rear wheels just happen to be kind of clocked. Well, I know right here, to get this pivot, we just do the turn like that. Now we're walking up the tree. It's not quite wide enough for us. There we go. That is a situation where my toolbox includes the specific tool to do that. I didn't do it well, but I did it. In contrast, I can find myself in other situations where I'll think, oh, I need to do this. And then I do that, and the result is effectively the categorical opposite of what I wanted to happen. Like right there. There we go. Hey, I almost know how to do that. So what we do is we just keep going at it. We just keep trying. We hope that manufacturers will help us out. That way we don't have to develop our skill set as well. This is not the hyper optimal solution for rear steer, but it's pretty good. It's kind of the best we've got because it does give you more throw. The more throw, honestly, on this that you have, like see, it has about the same amount of throw as the main steering wheel. The more intuitive it gets, the better I assume I'm going to get at it. Because I don't think about steering, I don't think about throttle application, I don't think about Dig application. I just kind of know where the ends of the vehicle need to be at any given moment, or I would like to think that I do. And hopefully, over time, not right there, hopefully over time, I won't do that anymore. Because it will stop being an instance of, what do I do right here with that nose lifted? So I can't use as much front steering input, but I want to move the front to the right. So we'll try this with no front steering input, and it's still got a bit of glide to it. So we will try this and see if it doesn't overload the rear, and it still does. So there's a whole lot going on. So what we'll try to do is get the front end up higher. Maybe it's a positioning issue more than an input issue. And then we'll try to get around this little spot there, and then we'll counter steer it back. No, we're still high. There we go. Now, have I failed at that point enough for the success to burn in? I doubt it. I genuinely doubt it. I feel like there's a level of, is it learning? Like I'm starting to understand what's happening a little bit more. But at the same time, the four-wheel steer rig that I've driven the most feels more, this is difficult to quantify. It feels more predictable in its failures. My predicting of success, first try, like when I do this, I know what that's going to do in this situation because we're not in anything tied up. Or not. So we do it again. And we try to see what was it that made that happen. Coming in slow. And then see, here is the real bite of four-wheel steer. It's kind of antithetical to insanity. The half tongue-in-cheek joke is that doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, is called insanity. Those people have never driven four-wheel steer before because you will just do the same thing twice and get completely different results because this little guy right here doesn't self-center. So what will happen is you'll be right like that. Can you tell how much steering input? There's about 10% steering input. The wheels are pointed to the right. It's about 10% point to the right. It's, to me, in this situation, it's not really perceptible. But what it's going to do is it's going to impact the way the vehicle behaves. Because now, because we've got it pointing that little bit, there's that little 10%. Now what happens if we just take it down to 0? It's kind of almost enough to get us out. And we've lost front steering. Let's hope a screw fell out. Nope, not a screw. The end of today's installment. Watch, keep your eyes trained on the screw. Here is an operation you should not be able to accomplish. I put the locking screws in it. It was locked. That is DJ Gonzo. The owner, whom this is probably on the way to right now, I have a genuine surplus. So after I replace that horn with like, I will throw another. I'll throw a couple servo horns in there. You know what? You're gonna get a 5-pack. You're gonna get a 5-pack of servo horns because I like to assume that I'm not an extreme outlier, that I'm not weirder than the average. I'm probably an average level of weird. If you're like me at all, you're gonna wreck a couple servo horns because you're gonna put a front end in the spot and think, oh, I got this. Then you're gonna apply some power to it and the torque is going to overwhelm the drag link and you're just gonna do what we did right. Like the inside of that servo horn is just smooth. There's no splines in it anymore. Much like the surface of my brain, very smooth. So we put a couple scratches on the, I'm just doing the, we put a couple scratches on the doors. It was doing real nice. It's a fun rig to drive. It is a four-wheel steer learner's rig, and I hope that whoever already won it appreciates it as much as I have. I appreciate you joining us here. I appreciate everybody joining in on the lives and in the comments section and on the Discord and everywhere else. Thank you so much for being here. If you won it, I consider you lucky because I really like this little guy. I really like this little guy. I would love to see you again in the next installment of whatever we do. I would hope that in between now and then, you one and all do your very best to have a good run. We will see you again here from the canyon with a rig that hopefully doesn't break on the first drive. Oh, no, the wheels are just following the contour of the terrain. Can we use four-wheel steer to drive this back so I don't have to carry it? No, it just went straight into crab mode. All right, I'm gonna go into crab mode myself. and I will see you next time.